Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where entrepreneurs and professionals publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. As you may know, we're doing spotlights across the country and even in your town on remarkable entrepreneurs and professionals and business owners. Joining me today is a Renaissance man of sorts. His name's Adam Marburger from St. Louis, Missouri. Adam, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Adam, what I find most interesting is you're into a lot of stuff. You're a serial entrepreneur. You live your life in three buckets. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so I live my life in the automotive industry, the real estate industry, and the martial arts industry. Very passionate about all three, and I'm living in my purpose in all three of those.
That's fantastic. So tell us, you had mentioned before we came on about a journey you've been on in the last couple of years, from, breaking it down back to success again. Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in 2017, I made the bold decision to walk away from a very, very safe, comfortable existence, a very, very high salary, a pretty good schedule, but I just couldn't grow within the four walls of that business. And I had a different calling, so I just upped and retired. I was there for 17 years. I put in my resignation and my retirement, and I walked away, and I basically rebuilt and started all over. It took me 3 years leaving the automotive space from the retail side of things to understand the other side, the vendor side that I'm on right now. And without the real estate holdings that I had, I would have never been able to do that. But it took me 3 years of fighting, kicking, no sleep. Agony to get back to where we're extremely profitable today. And looking back, wouldn't change a thing.
So you've obviously diversified into the three buckets: martial arts, real estate, and automotive. Did you find that you needed that balance to stay afloat, or how did you keep all of those plates spinning?
So, from a very young age, I've had mentors, and just understanding multiple streams of income at a young age was very, very important to me. I never, even when I was in the automotive retail side, I've always had other streams of income. And I know that to get to where I want to ultimately go, I'm going to need that. And so, the idea of the automotive stream of income and that real estate is probably the most important piece, because my mentor started telling me, what, you need to get into your rentals. You need to get into some multifamily deals, because that's how you create the cash flow. And so I followed the steps that he showed me. He paved the way. I followed those steps, created some income there. I don't want to say I got comfortable, but I was able to kind of hit a reset button, and then get into that martial arts stream of income. So which I built that stream now, and we're doing pretty well there. So I just like the idea of not living on one stream of income. What happens if the automotive industry just goes freeze again? What if COVID happens like it did in March and April, and then the dealers stop selling cars? Well, I'm not going to make any money. So I need to then depend on my other streams of income.
So it's counterintuitive in a lot of ways. Many folks think that they dabble in real estate as the aside. It almost sounds like you used it as the main thing to get the other businesses going. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was having lunch one day with my partner, Ali, and we started looking at here, what could we do with, say, $500,000 cash? Well, what if we bought 10 properties? And what if those 10 properties rent out at $800 to $1,000 a month and we don't owe anything on them? Could you live on that cash flow? And I started thinking, that's interesting. Well, I want more cash flow than that to live the lifestyle that I ultimately want to live. But I like the idea of having 10 houses paid off, bringing 800 to 1,000 a click. So that's what really put the light bulb in my head years ago. And I started thinking, okay, how do I buy these foreclosures, fix them up, and then get them paid off as soon as possible? So instead of doing the 20 and 30-year loans, I started doing 10-year loans on these deals a long time ago. So then they started becoming, the loans would mature, and then now it's all cash. So, it really, without my mentor, I wouldn't be where I am in the real estate business, but I'm so thankful that our paths crossed. And I started thinking that way in my 20s. I just turned 40 2 months ago. So I started investing in my 20s in real estate.
So then when you left this high paying job, you really focused on real estate to get your base. And then you went into the automotive business. Now, automotive, is that where you came from originally, your job? And now what are you doing in the automotive industry?
Yeah, so I started out at 18 years old at a car dealership. I was going to college, Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to do something in business. Well, I kind of worked my way up through the ladder, and I was running a high volume dealership for a very, very long time. The reality is I was still working for someone else, and I wasn't meant to work for somebody else. I want to work on my terms. So I found my way into the insurance side of the automotive industry. So now what I do with my company, Ascent Dealer Services, I help car dealers build wealth. I help them with their offshore investments. I manage those funds. I train key management. I coach everyone in the dealership to do more, to sell more, to be more profitable, to stay compliant. So what I do is I basically help car dealers run their business. And on the vendor side, it's quite profitable, and it's very rewarding because I get to work hand in glove with these dealers that are friends and they become partners, and I get to help them grow their dealership. So it's very, very rewarding.
My audience would love to know like how you reinvented yourself and went back into the automotive industry. How quick was it for you to have success there and gain clients in the automotive space? Like, you literally give us a picture of like when you started it and what are the first things you did to start getting clients?
Okay. So first of all, imagine this. Imagine for over a decade making a $500,000, not really worried about bills. Life is super good. And then flip the switch, it goes to zero. Okay. So from 500,000 to zero. I've got three daughters. I mean, it was a bold move at first. My friends and my family thought I was absolutely bananas, but I was going through some personal issues. So I went out to Sedona, Arizona for a handful of days in 2017. I tell this story a lot. I went out in the desert to get lost, to find myself. I came back a new person. I found my purpose, my drive. And so I went out and I started branding myself on social media. I built my company using social media 100%. Every one of my clients is from social media. Now, the painful part is it didn't start paying until now. I'm making money now. 3 years ago, I was not making money, and it was brutally difficult. There were days I didn't want to get online. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. There were days I just didn't want to do anything because it was so hard. But I fought through, I kicked through, and I stayed consistent. And now my social media branding is now paying dividends today. So long story short, it was a brutal 3 years, but I stayed the course and now it's paying dividends.
So you're Ascent Dealership Services company. What type of services do you provide? Is it coaching, consulting, or is it any done for you services?
We provide the insurance products that the dealerships sell to their consumers. So in the event that you buy a vehicle, you go in and say you purchase any type of insurance policy. Well, those are our policies that we provide the dealers. And the dealers that offer our products, we give them coaching and mentoring. It just kind of comes with it. And then dealers have the ability as well to hire me as a consultant. So I come in and I'll spend a day in your dealership, act like I'm an employee, and I'll work all day for a fee. So those are the services that we provide dealers.
Tell me, I want to definitely talk about your martial arts academy as well. But before I jump there, I want to know, we're in the middle of a pandemic now. How has this affected your businesses and your clients' businesses? What have you seen, specifically in the automotive industry and in the real estate side?
So it's allowed us to pivot. I mean, March was pretty difficult. March was an eye-opening experience, I think, for all business owners. It allowed us to kind of slow down, reflect, have some gratitude on the way we had it, but then it allowed us to pivot. I turned my coaching platform to an online virtual platform. Through that pandemic, I wrote a bunch of material. I structured up my online academy. I started looking into the future. At the end of the day, I can't be in 100 stores every day, but I sure can using Zoom like you and I are right now. So I started using Zoom differently, and I put it into our blueprint that we offer our dealers, and it actually worked out quite well. The pandemic, we took some steps back, but it took me 100 forward. So we just pivoted and we started using technology a little bit differently. And in our dealerships, dealers started using technology to sell cars because customers didn't want to come to the dealership. A, they're scared. B, the pandemic. So how are we going to sell cars? Well, we've got to use technology and bring the car dealership to the consumer. So that's what we did over the COVID pandemic.
How hard did the pandemic hit the automotive industry? Are cars still moving? Are they 50% down? What's that like?
It was brutal. and March and April. Well, half of March was bad. It kind of the faucet turned off about mid-March. April was very difficult. April was a tough month for everybody, but May, it just soared. The used car industry is absolutely on fire. The new car industry is doing well. The car business is doing very, very well. This month, we've seen a little with the new restrictions, and we're kind of seeing what each state's doing. Every state's a little bit different. So we're going to see over the next couple of weeks really what that looks like. But everything was really well until right about now. And there's some uncertainty. There's a little bit of uncertainty right now. The end of the year is typically good for car dealers, especially December. So we'll see.
You and I share a passion for martial arts. So tell me about your bucket of martial arts and that part of your life.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I had a friend of mine that said, "Hey, you need to try this kickboxing." I'd always I've been an athlete. I never did kickboxing. He took me to the studio about half an hour from my house. And I was just first practice. I was like, wow. I was shocked on how much I didn't know. Everybody thinks they kind of know how to fight. But the reality is we really don't. Like, we don't know how to fight. You get into a ring with a pro boxer and you've never boxed, you're done. And so it humbled me. And then I got really involved. I did a couple kickboxing fights. I did a couple boxing fights. I took a few years off, and then I found mixed martial arts. And then I started getting fascinated with MMA. I did a couple MMA fights. And then I got into really, really involved in the sport, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm still today very, very active in Jiu-Jitsu.
That's excellent. So that is your passion project there.
Oh yeah, it's my therapy. I had a dealer text me, it was the day before yesterday. He had a really rough day. We both together, we had a pretty hectic day. And I took a picture of my team and my mats, everybody, but here's my therapy. This is where the rest of the world doesn't exist. Those mats, when you're on those mats, the troubles, the worries, the complaints, the financial, whatever the issues you're having, they go away when you're on those mats. And so, yeah, it's my therapy without question.
So Adam, your first career was in the automotive industry. Take us back a little bit and tell me, and you're still serving them today. That's really been your thing, I see, besides like real estate and then of course martial arts, but like the automotive industry. What inspired you to get in there to begin with? How'd you get started?
Completely accidental. So I was working at a restaurant for one of my friends that he used to be a car salesman. He did it very well, but he left to open up this Italian restaurant with his wife. I loved working there. I mean, I was 18 years old. I went away. I just graduated high school. A few of my friends went down to Florida, had a good old time down at Panama City Beach. When we got back, they said, "We're closing the restaurant." I said, "What the heck, Gordon? What do you mean we're closing the restaurant?" He goes, "But I got a plan for you." So he kidnapped me, basically, took me to his dealership. And I told the dealer, I was like, "I don't want to sell cars. I'm out on that deal." So I asked to go work in the service department. So I started as a cleanup guy. I took out trash. I did whatever I was told. It was not the greatest job, but I actually liked that job. And they told me from the beginning, "You need to be selling, Adam. You were put on earth to sell. So you need to be selling." They finally talked me into it. So I started selling cars at 18 years old. I'm not proud of this. I dropped out of college. Halfway through college, I had a good GPA, but I just wasn't fulfilled. And I saw a bigger vision in sales. I was making really good money. And so I walked away from college. I took my automotive career. I took it very seriously at that point. So I've been doing, you name it. I've worn almost every hat within a dealership. Over 17 years, I was in the retail automotive space, and absolutely blessed, super blessed to be a part of that industry.
So Adam, before I ask you my last question, tell me this. If you were talking to your younger self, after all of your ups and downs in life and things that you figured out along the way, if your younger self asked you right now, what should I really focus on to be successful? What would you tell them?
I would probably tell the younger version of myself to slow down a little bit. Slow down, work on being present. Look at the conversations that we're having, and why don't we listen just a little bit more? Let's not be so quick to react, which then could cause a situation where we overreact. That's what I would tell my younger version. I was always so go, 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 go. And now as I've gotten older, even though I've got a lot of energy, I've learned how to slow down, pause, really connect with people, listen more before I want to give my 2 cents. I would just tell my younger version to slow down, my friend. You have to slow down so you can speed up. That's what I would tell my younger version of myself.
As you found when you went to Sedona to get lost and find
So did.
yourself, you
I did.
slowed down and things started taking off for you. This is fantastic.
Meditation works here. Meditation is a beautiful gift. It's a beautiful gift. So,
Adam, this has been absolutely terrific. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and I appreciate your time, taking your time to share with my audience today. I wish I wish you continued success for you, for all of your clients, and all of your endeavors.
I appreciate that. I also had fun. I'll have to get a hold of you when I get up north. So we'll have to get together, break some bread.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where professionals and entrepreneurs publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. Join me on my next Expert Spotlight. For now, I'm Mark Imperial. Take care.